G'day, Mel Chester. This is your life. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Are you doing a gig at the Opera House tonight? Is that a thing?
What a crazy thing to say that I'm in Sydney to do a gig at the Opera House. Like, oh my God, with the Vivid Festival, which is going to be really cool.
With Taylor.
I wish with Taylor, but it'll be Vivid Festival Mel's version, not Taylor's version. But yeah, with Daniel Alvarez and Luella from the Trippers Group. Sounds great fun.
So what are you doing?
It's like this great celebration of women in culinary arts. So Danielle's doing all this beautiful produce, and then there's a bunch of really cool wines that Luella from Trippers has sort of curated from cool chick winemakers from across Sydney. And then I'm flying in for the main course, just doing some Pinots.
Are you like lit up? Is that part of Vivid? Are you like
I think
fluorescent?
I might suit up, but that's really as good as it's going to get. I'm from Melbourne, guy. Like, we don't get too carried away with that stuff, but it'll be fun.
We've put on the weather for you anyway. It's pissing with rain outside.
I know, it's gross. So it'll be fun. And so we're up here floating around. And then
showing some wines at the same time.
Yeah.
Some half-decent wines, as always, from Giant Steps.
Little projects.
This is, by the way, a Chardonnay. Not just any Chardonnay. The one-off, never to be repeated, once in a millennia.
Famous last words, but yes.
2021 Equate Chardonnay. Really exciting to see some different wines coming out of the Giant Steps stable, because for years we've been huge fans, as has any wine lover in Australia, of Sexton, Chardonnay, Tarraford, all the Applejack, all the different Pinots and Chardonnays that are in the Giant Steps stable. And now we're seeing some different things. There's new vineyards, there's new there's a new winery, there's a new winemaker, there's lots going on. Like, where is Giant Steps at in this moment? It must be a really exciting time to be at the helm.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, incredible, business and the winery's just done so much the last 20 years to establish itself in as the hero Pinot and Chardonnay producer, I think, in the Yarra Valley. But, we kind of always think of ourselves as Pinot and Chardonnay, but actually we're more focused around the great sites. And so that's actually been what we've done in the last few years, is continue to grow and understand our beautiful little properties. And we've collected one more. The Bastard Hill, which is really exciting. So we've got our first release off of Bastard Hill Vineyard coming out.
How do you get the name?
By name and by nature, 32 degree slope vineyard,
yeah, right.
Which apparently it got its name because the fellow who planted it, legend guy called Ray Guerin, who is basically every great cool climate vineyard that you love, he's worked with. So he was with the Hardy Wine Company for 30 years, planting all these amazing cool climate vineyards in the Yarra, in Tassie, all up through Tumbarumba. He did a little innings actually with Sharon Smith after he finished up at Bastard Hill. But he apparently, the vineyard got its name because he had a vineyard worker who used to complain about having to go and do any work on that bastard of a hill. So it's a 32 degree slope. It's serious business.
Perfect for the machine harvesting, which Giant Steps is.
Oh, we're so famous for, It's totally wild. We've actually bought special tractors and special machinery. It's probably, I don't know if it is the steepest vineyard in Australia, but it's the steepest I've ever seen.
32 degrees is wild.
Yeah, so when Scotty, who's the legend who looks after that vineyard for us, when he travels down the hill in his tractor, he's got to put his foot up against the window to hold himself in the seat. It's like you're taking, it's like when you go up the hill, he says it's like taking off in an airplane. You're like, yeah, it's wild. So it's a pretty special place, and hasn't really, they've made great wines from before off of that property, but we've never really seen them sort of represented in this sort of single vineyard stable before. They've done, the grapes off of that farm have gone into Eileen and all that sort of stuff, Eileen Hardy, and some really cool things, but that'll be really exciting. 23, we've made bugger all of the stuff, but
23. We'll get an allocation, won't we? You look after us. Of course. Again,
famous
last words. So just quickly about Equate, because this is amazing. This is coming off the Sexton Vineyard, which is the OG. The Giant Steps OG Vineyard, named after the one and only Phil Sexton, but just a kind of barrel selection from a portion of that site.
Yeah. So from two probably the best performing every year blocks, block 2 right down the base of the vineyard on those heavy soils. It's sort of the most sheltered Chardonnay block on the farm.
Just next door to where Wade and I couldn't start the car. Do you remember that?
Oh, really?
Flammer had to come in and jumpstart the car for us.
You cowboys.
I know. We're not at home in the bush.
You're like, can I Uber Eats something here? It's an amazing little block. And there's a block of Gingin or Mendoza clone down there, little block of 96, and there's one barrel from each of those little blocks that went into this. And it's we call it Equate because the wine is, talking to the equation, the sum of the parts that goes into that moment in time for Giant Steps. 2021 was an amazing season, so that's part of that equation. But then also, it was 25 years working with that vineyard and 20 years of Flammo working with Giant Steps, developing the house style, tweaking that viticulture. It was sort of, as I was coming in, they were blending that wine. It just kind of felt like this really nice way to kind of mark that moment in time for us. And we weren't really sure what we were going to do with it. We're like, we'll whack it into bottle and deal with it later. And I'm really proud of this wine. It's just I don't know, it sort of distills everything I loved and do love still about the wines that they make at Giant Steps.
It's got all that typical Sexton power and richness, but just up another level. But it also has this amazing minerality running through it as well, and freshness and line of acid, which is probably the vintage too. You see that in all the 21s, but it's just an amazing Chardonnay.
And there's a bit more winemaker's hand in this too. Around this time of April, May of 2021, I think they flagged these two really great barrels. And Jess, our senior winemaker, was like, I'm going to do a bit more. I'm going to pimp the ride. I'm going to lead stir. I'm going to have a bit of fun with this. And one of the things we always talk about at Giant Steps is all our wine.
Is letting the winemakers speak.
We're all about our voice. Yeah. But it's we laugh about that, but we try really hard to not get in the way of our vineyards. Yeah. But then sometimes it's kind of cool to recognize the fact that in the great producers, not there's terroir that comes from the land, but there's also terroir that comes from the people that help express the land. And I kind of like that in this. We've kind of lent into the whole thing. And
let's be honest, I don't know if anyone really gives much of a shit about individual blocks. From a consumer point of view, vineyards is one thing, sub-regions, but when you start getting down, it's this comes from this block on the westerly fade with this. It's that's cool for the people that farm that vineyard and want to geek out. But for punters, the idea that you can just actually work this a bit more and take it to another level so it tastes like something amazing and different, I think is really cool.
And also, speaking of that, do you know that when Giant Steps first started, the first wines from Sexton Vineyard in 2002, Flammo did single clone wines. So they did 96 clones. That would be avant-garde for now, let alone 25 years ago, we're clone. What's that? So it's kind of cool that we've sort of lent back into that a little bit here, talking about the original clone. So it's delicious. It's a wine that's got a lot of power to it.
So good.
Yeah.
I just want to just pause the interview and we'll just drink Chardonnay.
Yeah, why not? We made bugger all of it. Yeah. It's just a little project, a little mark a moment in time and have a laugh. And it's just cool. So at Celador at the moment, we're doing that wine with a vertical, you can go and try that wine against 3 vintages of Sexton Chardonnay, and just to talk about that whole rung of it all. So yeah.
Are you are there many other little experiments happening, little things that you're working on, projects? Always.
We've got so many on the brouhaha at the moment. There's a little sparkling thing that we're having a laugh with. There's these true wines. There's we've got Young Vine Grenache at Tarraford. There's always things, and that's what's kind of amazing about Giant Steps is that we've always been encouraged to have make great wine, but also not rest on your laurels. Keep experimenting, having fun. And I think that weird thing that we always fight with in winemaking is that, our primary produce is only around for 6 weeks of the year, and you only get one chance to do it a year. Yeah. And every drop that goes into this wine was grown, right? Yeah. And so that kind of sense of oh my God, I don't want to bugger it up. I've only got one chance this year to turn this into wine. It can be really easy to be I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to play it safe. But I have to actively fight that and be no, let's go for it. Let's try this. Yeah, but let's pick that and make a sparkling wine out of it, even though we've never done it before.
Is that a big part of your job? What you're there to do is to try and conceptualize things and drive innovation and change rather than just another set of hands?
Yeah, I think so. I think also that's also the philosophy and the culture of the business. It's all those 1%ers. Whatever we can do to kind of claw 1% of quality, we're going to do it. And sometimes that is having a go. I don't know if it's going to work with whole cluster, but let's do it. This is a great example.
This is Tarraford Syrah, by the way.
Yeah, brand new. Well, we've done this when was Dragon last one? It was 2018, I reckon.
It feels like it's been every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And it's a great site for Shiraz. That's our most northerly and our lowest elevated site in the valley floor. So,
but weirdly, with the Chardonnays, I remember the Sexton almost seemed to have more ripeness and richness.
You're preaching to the choir there, mate. But that's because Sexton faces north, gets that like, all that daylight during the and it's also like quite high and exposed. Yeah. And so
I used to sell these wines back on the phone. Do you know that? I used to flog Giant Steps wines with Wade on the phone back in our previous life. Like, hello, Giant Steps.
You might know me from
Tom speaking. And it was always like, oh, the Sexton has more power and the Tarraford is the spicier, more acidic version.
I agree, but that's because the Chardonnay at Sexton's up exposed on that hill, more sunlight every day, lots of ginger and clone, lots of power. Whereas Tarraford is like nestled into this little gully down in Tarraford, and the Chardonnay at Tarraford's on the coldest slope, on the southern slope, where you get less sunlight. So, you do get a pithier, more like...
And the Syrah, was the Syrah in the north there, isn't
correct,
it?
yeah.
Okay. And so I remember when you drive past it, it's the south side that you see, isn't it? Yeah. Opposite Tarraford, it's on
kind
the
of
left.
Like the bum's crack of the hill, you know what I mean? Like you see like the way that the gully opens up and you're looking down the gully when you drive past it. Yeah. So the southern slope there is all Chardonnay and the north slope is Pinot. Oh, sorry, Shiraz. It's a really amazing site. We've actually got a couple of rows of Viognier in at the Tarraford Vineyard.
Great. That's selling this, right?
Yes. So like 2 rows which give you...
We're going to do a single clone Viognier
well, do you remember
deep dive at Giant
when Yarra Valley, they used to do like single demijohn bottlings of their Viognier, the Carridas Viognier, amazing.
So they do that now?
I don't know. I think she might use them for other bits and pieces. But
you said there's some Grenache there.
Yeah, a little bit. That's young vines. So I was joking that maybe in like 150 years we might make some Single Vineyard Grenache. Just got to wait a million years
when the Yarra is like hotter than Riverland. And
also like obviously vine age is a huge part of quality with Grenache. But then again, like my mates up at Syrah around the corner from us at Tarraford, they've got like amazing Grenache. So there's some cool little pockets that have warmer aspects, and I think that's kind of that philosophy of being a vigneron first, then a winemaker is sort of understanding that there are many different ways to tell the story of your site. And that's what these 2 wines are. These wines are small releases, really, tiny volumes, but they're just another way to understand what that part of the world can produce. And so
it must have been amazing for you when you came on board 2-3 years ago to just have this suite of vineyards. And how did you go about like familiarising yourself with them? And
I think I still am, honestly. Yeah. Like, I'm lucky that Slamo still hangs around and walks the vineyards with me.
I feel like he'll always hang around.
Oh, if I had it my way, for sure. And that sense of, being able to walk the site during harvest and talk to him about, his, deep intrinsic understanding of the property is so invaluable. So he's been amazing. But then it's also just like, get into the winery, taste the fruit. It's not rocket science in the end,
Yeah.
If you kind of get the fruit pick the fruit at the point where it tastes nice, the rest will kind of fall together. So
that's delicious.
How yummy is it?
So like elegant, blue-fruited and slippery, and that little, we were talking about before, the Viognier, you see, a little bit more aromatic lift, which is lovely, but it does something to the texture. There's like a silkiness or slipperiness to the palate that you see in great Shiraz Viogniers as well, where it just kind of, I don't know what, it softens the tannins or something, where it just has this beautiful soft kind of
like glycerol. And that's a bit of hawanch in that too, which helps with those sort of layers in the palate. So yeah, it's a great site for Shiraz. It's actually got this unique clone of Shiraz. It's a bit boring, this conversation about clones, but it's a very Giant Step story that, there was these 2 rows of this one clone of Shiraz. No one knew what it was. Flamo sent it off to get mapped and he loved it. He was like, it was always the most perfumed and red fruited, and then sort of propagated it throughout the vineyard. And then they sent it off to get mapped, and whoever it was, AWRI or whatever, was like, we don't have any record of this. And like, we would have bought it from somewhere. So it's not like, but there was no record of what that clone was. And so we've just like claimed that. And we're like, it's called the Red Dog 67 clone. And it was like, the vineyard manager had a red Kelpie and 67 was the release of his favourite album or something like that. And we're like, it's our own unique clone.
It's the most Australian thing I've ever
heard. I know. And everyone's like, are you sure? But I'm not sending it off for testing because I don't want to know if it's any acids, but we're going with it.
Some weird mutation.
It's a good story, Yeah, maybe that's what it is. So,
how does this, because you've got experience making Shiraz in other regions as well.
Yeah.
So how does this Syrah look when it comes into the winery, and how you treat it compared to, at Sutton Grange and other places? Yeah,
and Great Western. I guess that's where my sort of winemaking life was before Giant Steps, was in sort of continental Victorian Shiraz country. It's a much there are some places in Victoria where Shiraz just grows so prolifically. We have to do a lot of work in the vineyard here. Lots of work on crop level and, leaf exposure. It's pretty cold in the Yarra Valley. So making sure we're sort of giving the vines the smallest crop possible to give you the best outcome with fruit ripeness. And then, they're often longer bunches, maybe bigger berries as well. We had very small berries up at Sutton Grange, and they were very, those gravels up there were very low yielding and tough conditions for Shiraz. So we do quite a lot of whole bunch because you just get that lift and perfume. And, it's a great place for that sort of spicy, more kind of northern roady style Shiraz.
Definitely. Yeah, because it doesn't have that same kind of structural intensity that you might see.
It's got more glide.
Glide. I like it so. You can use that this afternoon.
Okay, perfect. Maybe that's on the banned words list. So then a little Grenache, beg your pardon. Freudian slip. Cabernet from the Sexton Vineyard. So
this is, can I tell you a story?
Oh yeah, sure.
Interrupt. This is a very special one for me actually because, Harry's Monster was.
Yeah.
Because when I, one of the very first wine trips I ever did with Kate, my now wife, was long before we married, was to the Yarra Valley and went to the Giant Steps and stopped in and had a meal at the little bar. We got the pizzas last time there. So it was amazing. And had the Harry's Monster. I was like, this is incredible. And I used to sell a shitload of it on the phones because there's always cancelled export orders. You always get cheap, and they came and gave the T-shirts with the red T-shirt with the old white hand-drawn Monster, the old school label and everything. And we just loved the wine. It was a special moment. So that was actually the wine we drank on our wedding night, where we went to the Opera House as well. So there you go. It's all
folding into themselves.
So anyway, it's so cool to see because Harry's is done, or it's just a little side thing.
Yeah.
But cool to see again Sexton and Cabernet still making great wines.
Yeah, because Harry's Monster is a blend, right? And it's that traditional Bordeaux blend that sort of the Bordeaux varieties blend, I should say, that the Yarra Valley has done so well since the 70s. So Merlot, Cab Sav predominantly, and then, little bits of Verdot and Malbec, whereas this is a straight Cabernet. So it's kind of putting that straight varietal up on a pedestal. That we all, the blend and the kind of art form of blending that of the Bordeaux blend is something we all are very comfortable with in the Yarra, but I kind of want to tell the story of that little hillside and
it's such a cool spot.
Yeah, mate.
Literally cool. It's freezing, right?
Well, you were there. Remember that time we were up there and I was like, here, have some wine. And
I didn't want to go. I didn't want to get out of the car. Flomo's there in a single, just come over here, guys. Let's do it.
But I think I went to pour it, and the wind carried the wine away.
It actually froze midair. Actually, the wine just.
I was like, welcome to the Yarra.
Yeah, welcome to the Yarra. It's absolutely freezing. It's there's the Cabernet side. But it's sheltered down there, isn't it?
Well, it's up on that western slope, so it gets some afternoon sun. So, and it's rocky soils. It's not the big high-capacity soils that get huge canopies. They're rocky and hungry soils. And, we kind of make this leaning into that, beautiful medium-bodied style of wine that I love from the Yarra. The story, the origin story of Yarra is really the 70s.
Cabernet.
The Cabernets, the Mount Mary, the Yarra Yering, the Wanturna and the Yeringberg. They are the origin.
So is Sam Middleton just just stay in your lane? Come on, you guys do Pinot, all right? You're good at Pinot and Chardonnay.
He does bloody good Pinot and Chardonnay.
He does amazing Pinot and Chardonnay, but Cabernet, piss off. This now, and Sandra's just waving her fist at you. And
it's actually so cool. When I was making this line, Sandra said, I sometimes make a straight Cabernet. She's like, it's great to see someone else telling the story of straight Cabernet in the Yarra.
Oh, that's cool.
The Yarra is so cool. Everyone just gets behind each other and is proud of each other.
How cool is Sandra?
Man.
When I visited for the first time, when we came to see you a couple of years ago, that vineyard and the winery.
Oh, man.
It was just hair stand up
kind of national treasure.
Moment. Yeah.
It's a museum.
And seeing where she makes the wines in that little... It's the size of this room.
And I love the story that they're 7th generation, 10th generation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They've owned that property for so long. It's not just about the crop, it's about the farm and the lamb and her children are now floating around a little bit too, and it's just amazing to think about.
So cool. The
legacy
wines
family.
are amazing. Yeah.
Oh dude, that Yeringberg. So yummy. So, I remember I've got a really foundational wine experience when I was about 16. My uncle, who has a really gnarly cellar, like a really cool cellar. Did this like amazing, I think I'd like must have just shown an iota of interest in wine. And one Christmas he like just decided to pull out the big guns because, you know, it was Christmas and any excuse. And one of the most foundational wine moments of my life, we had like a 1991 Hill of Grace, Grange, Mount Mary Quintet, Giaconda Pinot. And like I can remember having them as a bracket on Christmas Day. How nerdy is that? But and I can still remember the flavour of that quintet. I reckon I was about 16. And it was just like one of those wines. So these like kind of clarity, kind of medium-bodied, spicy red wines that the Cabernet wines that the Yarra produces, I think are like some of the great icons and the most uncelebrated, or the quiet achievers, I think, of the wine world.
It's your Yarra Valley Margaret Cabernet.
That's right. Exactly. The funny thing is that we've been calling these like in the winery the big reds.
Yeah.
Like, and
it's so funny because
like
it's Pinot in body and shape and
more tannin maybe than Pinot, more drive, but
like just it's medium body, like and just so beautiful. And I mean, you know, we often like joke about Cabernet, you know, being this old man wine and not trendy. But if Cabernet always look like this, I know it's just so gorgeous.
I find it really refreshing too, like the rockiness and that sort of salty thing that it's got. My beautiful friend Mac Forbes has a line that is like, Yarra Valley does have Pinot and Chardonnay for sure, but Yarra Valley is actually just medium-bodied wines that are fragrant, you know, irrespective of the variety.
Yeah.
Like,
he doesn't care about the variety, does he?
Well, that's where he has so much. He's got so much expression through his portfolio, and same with, you know, people like De Boortz who have, you know, Barbera and really cool. Like it's like actually the theme is fragrance, medium-bodied. Yeah,
it's a great point, especially as with phylloxera, with climate change, you know, you're seeing a lot of change in vineyard plantings. And I guess as people are looking to replant portions of their vineyard for phylloxera, it's like, well, what do we plant?
Yeah.
Do we just plant more Pinot and Chardonnay here on the valley floor? Well, probably not. Like, what's happening on the ground? What's your sense of how people are looking at the future of the region and varieties that you mentioned, Grenache before?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example, Grenache and
Saperavi.
Oh, delicious. Lagrange. Like Gamay. It's going to be really exciting in the valley, I think.
Well, Max Gamay. Is that Yarra though, or is that?
I'm not sure. Don't ask me. Yeah, let's phone a friend.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, like that. So De Boortz have got some really cool, and they've got all the funky clones and stuff there. I guess like the replanting thing is not just about varietal selection; it's also about like rootstock and clones. So there's all these really cool new clones in the Yarra that, you know, don't mind a bit of warmth and sunshine, and so it's a blessing, I guess, in disguise. Or maybe the better way to put it is there is a silver lining to the whole phylloxera piece that we're able to actually like kind of hone in our vineyards more. We know the land better. We know the climate better. We know the market better as well. I think that's the key though, is like fighting what you know was going to sell in the market with what you know is the best thing for the site and what you know is the right thing to do to kind of understand your site in the future. So a bit of Grenache in some site. We've got some Malbec at Sexton. We've got some other stuff.
You're sounding like a real local now, Mel. Yarra Valley,
I'm indoctrinated.
Born and raised.
Drunk the Kool-Aid.
It's such an amazing place, though.
I love it. It's like so close to the greatest city in Australia, Melbourne. But also the cunt is deep. But like so close to that great town and just the community of people.
All the beaches.
The beautiful weather. And like the kind of group of people that there. It's like it's one of those regions you look around, you're like, wow, everyone's killing it. And I think that like rising tide of lifting all the ships and it's a great place to live and work and the vineyard.
And a massive place. That's what we don't appreciate, like the Yarra Valley, the wine region. I mean, you could spend an hour and a half almost driving from one end to the other. There's so many different climates and soils, and you know, we did a day when we went down. We started down at Marksy's place in the
Gembrook,
down Gembrook, right?
Like an hour
in a
later.
rainforest, and then ended up at Luke Lambert's joint, right, where you're heading into the desert. And it's just crazy how different it is. It must be really exciting to explore that through these wines. We didn't talk about Pinot at all, but just with the 23s coming out shortly, how are they looking? How was 23?
Amazing vintage. I mean, like from a farming perspective, it was very challenging. It was a wet, cold spring, super wet, cold summer. But, you know, like there was 2 days over 32 or something crazy like that. It was not a warm summer. But on those cold vintages where it's sort of on a knife's edge, I I sometimes think we get the best expression of those Pinot and Chardonnay varieties. And the Pinots this year are like fleshy and perfumed, and there's this beautiful flavour and texture to the wines. And the Chardonnays are like crystalline, but the kind of clarity that both those varieties have in 23, like there's just this really clear voice to all of the wines. And yeah, I'm lucky we've kind of pushed the release date out a little bit. You probably would have noticed, like we normally release.
Yes, I noticed. Thank you very much.
We normally release
our cash flow notice.
We normally release them in June, but I'm like, actually, I think the 23s need to like hold off for a hot second. And
no, you're just waiting for the Halliday book in August, aren't you?
For sure. Actually, it's so funny. We've got the Halliday dinner, and then the next week we release the wines. And
Congratulations on the nominations, by the way.
Mate, thank you.
How good. What was it? Winery of the Year?
For the third time in a row. They could throw us a bone, don't you reckon?
I think you got it.
It's absolute no. The competition is so tight. Like I look at that one. Oh God, I hope so.
Just if you get an inside word, can you just give us a little, like, can you like blink at me 3 times now if you know?
I feel like I don't know, and I'm like that might be a bad sign, you know. But that's cool. We're just happy to be in that like list of people, and it's tough competition. You know, Ginny Wilcox, Jacinta Jenkins. Like there's great competition.
You just have to just text me with some obscure Taylor Swift reference.
The bunny rabbit is in the hat or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but the bunny rabbit is in the hat. I'll ask my wife and daughter.
That's not.
And they'll say like, "She's won it." That's not Taylor's version.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing. So you Winery of the Year, Winemaker of the Year, best pizza oven of the year,
best pizza oven, best smile,
of the year.
Yeah, cutest dog maybe is
cutest dog of the year.
That's
a Campbell. Campbell's brought that in.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you. My dog also has made the Wine Dogs book. So that means like, I was like, someone was like, did you feel like you just made it when you got nominated for Halliday Winery of the Year? I'm like, yeah, but also I felt like I made it when my dog got into the Wine Dogs book. Like, it's exciting. I mean, it's just those nominations feel lovely because it's a recognition of the hard work. And Winery of the Year is, that's the one that we love.
Because it's a recognition of the hard work of your team.
Of everybody. It's like,
it's true. It is a massive team. It's a massive team of giant steps.
The great people, but also it's not just like the team in the winery and the vineyards. It's also like my finance guy and the admin people and like all those. That feels nice for our whole
and
group.
Your loyal customers.
And the loyal customers, like different drop. Exactly. Thank you. So yeah, I don't know. Those little things, they're nice to have. It's just nice to be in a nominated list. And then I'm going to get dressed up for the party and
bring on August. Maybe we'll have to come down again.
Yeah. Did you come in last year?
No, the year before.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was
at the Stokhouse. We're not at Stokhouse this year. We're at somewhere else apparently. It was like, cool, no worries. Might be a bit bigger.
Ooh, fancy. Well, Mel, congratulations on everything. This is super exciting to see some new wines in the ever expanding Giant Steps stable. We love all the wines, obviously, and it's a style that I think really resonates with what I say, Wade, like the kind of wines that we like to drink, where there's detail and narrative, but also just drinkability and freshness as well. And we love the region and love all the people involved. So well done, and also exciting to see, like, after following you from the Sutton Grange days and getting to know you there and seeing this elevation now where you've made it.
Thanks, buddy.
You've made it.
I've arrived. I kind of hope there's more to do. Like, I'm excited,
no, this is it now.
I can just coast.
You can just coast like Flamo.
No, it's awesome. And like, it's, I guess in life, like when you're in a job that is exciting and inspiring and you work with a bunch of people who you love to collaborate with, it doesn't matter if it's, doing that when you're a garbage truck driver or a winemaker or a pizza chef or whatever. Like, if there's something that's exciting in your life and that you love what you do, it kind of feels really free and expressive. And I love it. Very proud of the wines and very proud of my team that helped me get it all across the line. And while I'm mincing around at the Opera House tonight, I'll be...
Good luck at the Opera House with Taylor. I'm sure that'll go well.
Cheers, mate.
And we'll see you later on. Cheers Mel. Cheers, guys.
Bye.